Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Where am I? And welcome to this afternoon's webinar where we get to do a sneak peek into our product called Study Island. My name is Nikki Simon Burton, and on behalf of Edmentum, I'm really pleased to know that you've taken the time out of your schedule to attend today. And for those of you who are watching the recording, thank you for taking the time to revisit what it is that was provided. Speaking of a recording, this session is going to be recorded, and we will be making that available to you via a follow-up email so that you'll be able to access it, share it with any colleagues that would need to have this information, or reference back to it if there's something that you wanted to follow up on as we go throughout the course of summer. This webinar is kind of an illustration, and what's going to be shown in this webinar is an illustration of our company's commitment. And as you can see, we have a visual here of our stated commitments as Edmentum. At the center, you can see you as the educator are the center of everything that we do. And coming out from that, we service and support and partner with our educators by providing simple technology, actionable data, customer success, and quality content. And what you're seeing here in this sneak peek and other sneak peeks that will be scheduled throughout the course of summer and as we get into fall, you'll see more and more examples of how in which we're trying to be really intentional about supporting and partnering with our educators across the United States. A couple things to familiarize you with our webinars, the GoToWebinar software. You'll see two different windows up on your computer screen. One of them has the copy of the presentation. You'll notice that you'll see a copy of my screen right now. And then the other is an action bar, if you will, and that's where you're going to be able to ask questions. You can even have an opportunity at the end for raising your hand and being able to kind of ask specific questions about what you saw as going through the demo. You can enter in questions throughout if you would like, or you can save it for that question and answer time. I will say there's not any wrong questions to ask, so please fire away. You should be ready to answer and make as many connections as possible. And if we need to wrap back on any of those questions at the end, we will certainly do so as well. So you can enter them right into that questions log. And now I'm going to get right into the presentation so that we can be as efficient as possible today. I want to introduce you to Hugh O'Donovan. He's the product manager for our Study Island product. Hugh has his master's degree in history and taught in higher education for 5 years. He has been working with Edmentum for the past 7 years, spending the first 5 in a services capacity, working directly with customers, helping to create successful implementations. Now, as a product manager, Hugh leverages the customer experience to help improve, innovate, and expand the offerings of Study Island. I am excited for you to see what his leadership has put together for our customers starting this summer. And with that, take it away, Hugh.
Thanks, Nikki, and I want to echo Nikki's thanks and appreciation as well for you all for giving us your afternoon, a few minutes, and so we're going to try and be as quick and as brief as we can. I do have a lot to show, a lot of really exciting features that we're going to have coming to Study Island this summer. And before I really dive in there, I do want to highlight one thing, and it is something that I will be reiterating throughout this call, is everything that you're about to see, all of these changes are driven entirely by you, by customer feedback. At Edmentum, we take customer feedback very seriously, and we want to do everything we can to respond to that feedback. So I want to direct you here, when you log in, there's that C-Hive button. Go in there and post your ideas for C-Hive. That's how I am able to take your ideas and turn them into what we're going to take a look at today. So I want to start with something we're actually releasing this weekend. We have a release coming this weekend with that's going to impact the student practice player in Study Island, and it's basically going to make it look like the current benchmark or built test player that you're used to seeing. When students log in on Monday and they click on their practice, this is what they're going to see. You can see we've got the tools up here at the top with the comment on question. Students answer questions. They'll hit submit. They'll get our little friend Taco the Crab down here encouraging them, whether they got the question correct or incorrect. They will be able to see that. There's Taco again. And in some of the questions, unfortunately not any of these, we will start to see an increase in the usage of side-by-side layout. This is a development environment, so something might be going a little hinky right now. But it'll be a nice, consistent experience for students as they work through the practice players. And again, this will go live this weekend for your students. Okay, now let's hop over into what's really coming for the summer for the students and teachers. I'm going to start specifically with the teachers. We've got some sort of workflow changes coming to make things a little easier for teachers. Again, all driven by the teachers submitting things into CHive or answering our surveys when we survey you. It's all driven by that. The first, we've taken what used to be over here on the right-hand side, the class details, notes, schedule section. We put it right here just to sort of make it part of the flow of building your class. We've also, as you can see here, added the ability to filter your different types of assignments. We have a lot of teachers who like to create their assignments once and then reuse them over and over each year. This makes it a little easier for you to manage that as you're doing that each year. The one that I'm super excited about is the ability to use group sessions as an item type, or as an assignment type, pardon me. Today, if a teacher wants to use group sessions, they go in and select their state and the grade level and topic and then select group sessions. But now we're going to give teachers the ability and the power to actually assign group sessions as an assignment type, which is going to help teachers maintain and manage those group sessions a lot easier. Another part tied to this, though, and one that I think a lot of you are going to be pretty excited about, is the ability to use built tests and group sessions together. Group sessions is designed specifically to give teachers the ability to really have a whole class experience and go over specific standards and questions and topics and get that instant feedback. And with the ability to bring in built tests in group sessions, it gives teachers even more control over that. There again, we're able to narrow down to which specific questions our students are going to see. And so it's a really, really powerful tool that's going to allow teachers to get that instant feedback that's so necessary in day-to-day instruction. We also do have a few changes coming to group sessions itself. I hope a lot of you have had the opportunity to schedule a group session and use group sessions in Study Island, and so you'll be able to see here these new changes that we have coming. And I'm going to go ahead and increase my font size a little bit just to make sure everybody can see it. As you can see first here, this used to be, this answered and unanswered section, used to be at the bottom of the screen. And as students come in, their names appear there, so you're able to see which specific students have logged in. And then as they answer questions, which has answered or unanswered the question. The problem is, as valuable as that information was, it took up a lot of space on the screen. And so if you're trying to demo this on a smartboard or an overhead for your students, you really lose that space, especially when you're talking about a technology enhanced item type or a passage question where you may end up having to do a lot of scrolling. So you also have the ability, as you can see here, to collapse or expand that as needed for you to just keep an eye on which students are logging in and answering questions. And again, as we said, the whole point of group sessions is that instant, immediate feedback. And so we've always had this group session results option where a teacher would see a list of their students and the little stars and red X's as they work through and get the questions correct or incorrect. One concern that we heard from a lot of you all is that we're being a little discouraging to students. It might be a little embarrassing for them if their name appears and there's all these red X's. And so we had to find a way, how do we still get you all that really, really instant information, that feedback, that valuable information about how your students are performing, while at the same time still working with you to kind of protect student privacy and protect the individual students from any kind of embarrassment. So we added this section here on the upper right-hand corner. You'll be able to quickly see, okay, how many students have answered, and then correct and incorrect. How many answered it correct and how many answered it incorrect. So right away, I've got a group session, I've got it up on my smartboard, all the students are logged in on their laptops or their Chromebooks or their iPads, and we're working through it, and I see, wow, I've got 10 students that answered. only 2 got it right. I really need to stop down and address this topic now. And I can always, continue to use the study island explanation or whatever other, teaching strategy that you have. You can employ that right then and there because you know this specific question. For whatever reason, maybe it's a technology enhanced item type, maybe it's a difficult question, but your students really struggled. And so now you have complete visibility into that. You can still pull up the group session result and see the kids' names because I've seen that used a lot for competitions and things like that. But if you don't want to do that way, you have the the visibility right there. So we're really excited about these changes coming to group sessions. It's been a feature that has really sort of taken off in Study Island over the last year and a half, and we're just going to continue to enhance it. And we do that, of course, based on feedback we get from you, the actual end users. And so we want to keep hearing from you. For teachers, one other thing that we've heard is, I love built tests. I love building tests. And I've built all these tests, but now I don't know how to keep track of them. So we're starting to find ways, again, in partnership with teachers and with educators on what's a good way to organize or keep track of my built tests. So we've started a little simple here. It's baby steps first when you're kind of making these sort of changes. You have the ability to filter by the title. You have the ability to filter by your last edited date. And then we went ahead and we added a keyword search in the built test library, which is going to make it really easy for you guys to quickly identify and find your built tests, where some of you, I know, you've gone in there and built 40 or 50 of these built tests, which I just think is fantastic. It's going to make it easier for you to manage those. So using built tests together with group sessions, finding ways to better filter group built tests, those are all some things that we have coming for the teacher. And it's really, most of it's workflow. How can we help save you a little bit of time? How can we make things make a little bit more sense for you? We have a few other things coming for the teachers, but I can't show them right now because we're still a little early. Our main release is going to be July 17th. I'm really excited about it. And so there's going to be a lot more coming, and we'll reach out to you and let you know about that stuff. But what I really want to show, what I'm most excited about, is what we're doing for the student in Study Island. We love our teachers very much, but we, just like you, we really love our students too. So I just want to make sure we all level set and we all know exactly what I'm talking about. When a student logs in, this is what they see. They've got their classes. If you're an NWA customer, the students see their different, either their math or their reading pathways, and then any classes with any assignments that they have, and they're just kind of all organized there. You can sort, but it's not really very engaging at all for the students. And we wanted to find some way. We have great content and we have great games and great reports and everything like that, but we needed to try and make the product a little bit more engaging for our students. And so come July 15th, or July 17th, pardon me, when your students log in, this is what they're going to see. This is the new student dashboard for Study Island. I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys like it. It is going to be for all of our students, K through 12. We wanted to create a common user experience for our students and for our teachers as well, so that you have confidence that you know exactly what your students are seeing, because you have some visibility into that. Now, this dashboard is just going to be for students, and we are down the road a little bit later in the fall or next summer going to do maybe a few different just sort of skins or environments for students, but this is going to be the main one we release. And you can see here, there's our friend Taco. He's peeking out here, and we're going to have the water is going to be a little animated, just a little bit of engagement. Now, I want to talk about these different boxes because here's where I'm really, really excited. The first one is the blue ribbons. Everyone who's been using Study Island knows that's just the hallmark of Study Island, is getting students to earn blue ribbons. And sometimes, and this is what, again, what I've heard from teachers, it's really hard to see how many blue ribbons my student has earned, or how can my student see how many blue ribbons they can earn. Well, we've put that right first thing on the dashboard for students. And what's great is not only are the students seeing the number of blue ribbons they're earning by subject It also factors in the number of blue ribbons they've earned by different grade levels as well. So again, if you're maybe a math customer where you have students working at a 4th grade and a 6th grade and a 9th grade level, that'll all be here. It's just a very, very quick, simple way for students to see their achievement. And that's what we really wanted to highlight. We really wanted to focus on how can we just continue to encourage students and celebrate with them their accomplishments as they work through Study Island. And so we did that with the blue ribbons earned this year. Next to that is the suggested topic section. Again, I know I keep saying how excited I am, and I'm really excited about a lot of what we're doing this summer. The suggested topic section is based on the report that we currently have in Study Island, the suggested topics report, which takes all student work in Study Island as they go through, and it divides it up into topics where the standards have been met or where the standards have been exceeded, but also topics that need improvement, high priority, or topics that need improvement, medium priority. These are the areas that as your students are working through Study Island, these are the areas that they're struggling in. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to put right in front of the student, if you need something to work on, here's where you've struggled. And so all the student we need to do is click on structures of text or whatever the topic may be, and it's going to launch them right into that topic, and they can start taking the topic for some additional practice. It's going to be a great way, both the blue ribbons earned and the suggested topics, for students to take ownership of their own learning, their own experience, as they work through Study Island. And if you don't create classes or you don't create assignments, you can feel confident knowing that as students work through Study Island, they're going to get more and more detail here that will help guide them through it. Below the suggested topics is the active assignments. That's just going to be some of the different assignments that teachers have created. And to the left of that is a brand new one. And this is the one that is going to have the most impact, I think, and one that I think a lot of you are going to be very pleased to hear about, and this is the in-progress topics. Now, in order to do this, I need to hop back over here to my student view. And this is today in Study Island what a student sees. And I'm sure a lot of you've seen the Study Island topic tree. You know how it looks, and most importantly, you know this your results section. In Study Island today, all scores in practice, they're all cumulative. So a student goes in and answers 1 question, that's a session. Student goes in and answers 5 questions, that's a session. They go in and answer 50 questions. They're all separate sessions. Each session just means a student has answered X number of questions. And it all tabulates together, and that's the student's score. Now, for those of you who have been with us for a long time, you know how frustrating that can be for students. If they go in that first time and they get a 30, or they go in and they're not really paying attention and they do really poorly, it's very, very difficult for students to overcome that initial hole that they may dig for themselves, and it can become discouraging to the point to where they just give up and they're just randomly answering questions. That's not helpful for the student. That's not helpful data for you as the instructor or the administrator. It's just not a good environment. And what we see a lot is teachers then have to spend the additional time going in and deleting sessions, which is, you just don't have time to do that. So we tried to see how can we help with that? How can we attack that? How can we address that? The first thing we've done is we will be changing the definition of a session. Moving forward from July 17th, every session in Study Island will be 10 questions. Practice session. I want to reiterate that we're talking about practice sessions. Students will no longer have the ability to select the number of practice questions they're going to work on. It is always going to be 10 questions. And as a student works through, if they have to stop for any reason, let's say it's, the bell rings, or, it's a fire drill, or whatever the reason, students will now have the ability to save a session that they can then return to when they're when they're free. So when a student saves a session without completing it, it's in progress. That means the next time they log in, they go to their dashboard, these are the saved sessions that they're working on. They just need to click continue and they'll relaunch that session. No more having to try and remember where did I leave off or why do I not have a blue ribbon? Well, it's because you haven't answered the 10 questions. The other part of that, and this is the really big one, and especially again for those of you who've been with us for a long time, is we are eliminating cumulative scoring in Study Island. Well, we're not eliminating it. We're moving in a different direction, and I'll sort of highlight what I mean by that. This is what the new topic tree is going to look like in Study Island. Again, remember today, the topic tree looks like this. You've got all the topics, the lessons, the flashcards, your results, pass and go, all kinds of information here, standards, everything for the students. It's just very busy. There's not a lot of guidance for the students. A lot of students skip over or don't even see the lessons, and then that issue with cumulative scoring. We've tried to clean up that whole experience for students so that when they click on their state and they select their subjects, what they see is going to be the topics, and then the next column is my best score. This column is always going to show the student's best score. So the first time I go in, I answer 10 questions. Again, a session is 10 questions. I get a 90%. I earn my blue ribbon. That is what's going to show. If I were to go in a second time on the same topic and get a 60, it's going to say 2 attempts, but it's still going to show that 90% because that was the best score. Students also will not lose their blue ribbons. Today, if a student went in and got a 90 and then went in a second time and got a 20, they would lose that blue ribbon because of how cumulative scoring works. That's no longer going to be the case. We want to try and help work with you to create a positive environment, an encouraging environment for students that celebrates their achievement as much as we can. Now, there's still value to you and there's still value to me in this concept of cumulative scoring. It's not something I think we can completely do away with. It's very nice that the student went in and got that 90 the first time, but 3 months later when they go in and they get a 40, you need to know that as the educator, and the student needs to be able to see that also. So what you're going to have the ability to do, the student will be able to click on 2 attempts, and they'll be able to see each of their individual sessions. So they'll have that visibility into there. For educators, when you pull up your reports, we're thinking we're going to have 2 columns, one of which shows the student's best score, and the other one which shows the student's cumulative score, how many sessions and what's the overall average of those sessions. So you're still going to have visibility into cumulative score, but for the student on their page, really what we're going to see is what is their best score. Now, the final column is standards. We've made the decision to really surface standards as much as we possibly can. Over the last several years, we've been going into buildings and talking to teachers and watching you teach. One of the things that we see in nearly every classroom at every grade level is written somewhere on the board or the marker board or the chalkboard is the standard of the day or what we're covering this week. And so we wanted to make it very easy for you to direct students to standards, for you to talk to parents about where standards are, and for you as educators to see where the standards are as well. So all of that is in there. Now, aside from blue ribbons, one other thing that I know a lot of you depend on Study Island for is that automatic remediation. Today, if a student goes in and fails 3 times or gets a score of like below a 33 or something like that, that automatic remediation kicks in and it bumps the child down a level and gives them the opportunity to practice the skills that they need to get back up and pass that grade level standard. That's absolutely still going to be part of Study Island this summer. It's going to be simplified though. We're going to focus on the most recent session by a student. And in that most recent session, if the student scored below a 40%, the remediation will kick in. And so let's say they went in again that first time and got the 90, but again, it's 3 months later, maybe we're starting to do a little bit of test prep into the year, preparation. We can say, let's take a look at asking and answering questions again, and the student goes in and they score a 40. Well, at that point, the remediation will kick in even though they previously passed the topic. So that automatic remediation is still there. So we created a clean environment, as you can see here, by removing a lot of things, but we still need all of those things. And so what we've done now is a student will click on the topic that they want to work on or that you've assigned to them, and this little modal opens up. As you can see here, the first thing the student is going to see is the lesson. I've received a lot of requests in C-Hive and when visiting teachers that say, please, Hugh, can you please force the students to take the lesson? Well, I'm a little nervous about forcing students to do anything. So I see this, to be completely honest with you, this is the first step in doing that. We're going to put the lesson on equal prominence with everything else. In fact, we put it first in the list. It's the first thing that they'll see. And we're hoping that this will encourage students to use the lessons before going into the practice. Now, if we see and if we hear from you all through C-Hive and through surveys that they're still not doing the lessons, we can revisit this again next year and give teachers the option to possibly turn that on for students. But that's a future thing that we're going to talk about. As you can see though, practice, game mode, those are all still here. Flashcards for those topics that have flashcards are virtual labs. The passing goal is still here. Again, all the information that existed on the previous or the current topic tree is still here. We've just tried to clean it up a little bit and make it easier, more accessible, and more logical for students as they work through Study Island. So a lot of changes here coming to the topic tree, a lot of changes coming to the student dashboard. Another one that I want to show you really quickly is the class page. We've taken that class page and we've tried to clean it up, make it a little bit easier for students. Again, like Nikki said at the beginning, one of our commitments is this simple technology. How can we make it easier for students to get in and get working? We don't need them clicking everywhere trying to find things. We need to make things as simple as possible for them. So we've created this new class page. It's got the title of the class at the top. Right underneath that is going to be the teacher's name. Whoever the owner of the class is will be listed there, which is nice if, a lot of teachers will just do, my class is third period or something like that. Well, for students, that could be confusing if they have multiple classes, so they'll be able to see the teacher really easily. We also have the note section, which is that class detail that we looked at earlier when talking about the teacher page, and the ability to message teachers is still there. And the one that I really like is we took the assignments, and again, simplification. We grouped the assignments into not started, in progress, and completed. We also went along with corresponding icons of start, meaning you haven't started it, continue, meaning you're working through it, or view, I'm reviewing it because I've already finished it. So trying to clean things up, make it a lot more logical for students as they're working through Study Island. Now, I know I've shown a lot of things and I've gone very quickly and I'm almost out of time here, and I want to make sure that we've got plenty of time for questions, and I'm more than happy to hang around and answer any questions that you may have. We are going to have other things coming throughout the year, but this big release, we wanted to give you guys an early preview. I mean, we're still almost 3 months out from when this is actually going to happen, but we're so excited. I just really wanted to share it with you. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. And like I said, I'm happy, Nikki, if there are questions that I can answer, to answer any questions.
Sure. So everybody feel free and pull up on that side window, the navigation window, and pull up the questions box. Enter in any questions that you have and we'll address them as they come in. There is one question on here, and it's not specific about release necessarily, but I'm not familiar with remediation. Is that available for science and social studies? Those are the two subjects my district has.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yeah, the remediation works to, if a student is working at, let's say, hypothetically, a 6th grade level, and they struggle with that topic, they will get bumped down a level. And the student can continue to be bumped down to building block levels until you're right at where that topic was very first introduced. So you see a lot of cases where students may get bumped down 2 or 3 levels and if they really, really need that support. But it does exist for all content in Study Island.
Perfect. Next question. Can you reiterate the launch date again, when they can expect this to be in the product?
July 17th is when it's coming.
Okay.
We wanted to try and give you a little bit of time before school started. Maybe if you've got some teacher days to be able to go in here and, you know, if you have services, get your services scheduled to have our consultants come in and talk to you, or if you're going to do a day with your teachers where you can look at it and talk about it yourself before your students get back.
Perfect. Okay, so I know this one you might not be able to click on necessarily, but I may have missed it, but what does the data tab look like?
I'm not sure I quite understand that.
I'm wondering if it's related to the reports link and being able to get into it's right above the state of Minnesota. Kind of looks like.
Oh, so I can't show that here, but I can show you, this is our development environment. So this is really what it's going to look like. We've been looking at a mock-up, and actually it's kind of interesting. This mock-up right here, what you're seeing right now, is what it's going to look like on, say, an iPad or a tablet device. This is what it will look like on a desktop where you have more space, so you can actually see how it's written out here. And then there's our shark. And I don't think there's anything in the reports. Yeah, we don't have anything in the report, but there you get to see Taco moving back and forth. The report section today in Study Island for students, they have access to a number of different reports. So it's going to look similar to this, although it's going to be simplified. Right now, there are a few clicks for a student to get into a report. We're going to simplify it to where it's just 1 or 2 clicks for a student to access their own data.
All right, thanks for the sneak peek. I do wish that they would be forced to view the lesson first, though. Maybe teachers could toggle it on and off, and I know you mentioned that. Maybe.
Absolutely, something we're looking at, something that we're going to take in consideration. I want to see how it works this way first before we give the toggle, but it's definitely something that I'm assuming we're going to be heading towards in the next year or 2.
Okay. My students do not enjoy the lessons in math. They feel they are confusing and intimidating. Are there plans to liven up the lessons in math?
There are not short-term plans, but long-term, yes. And I know that's really vague, but that's as specific as I can be. It's something that I'm talking with our content team about. A lot of this right now is, what is the baby steps that we can take to get Study Island to be more engaging, starting with the interface, but definitely the lessons are a big part.
Okay, so there's quite a few questions about functionality in Study Island, so I'm trying to pick out the ones that are related specifically to release and then let everybody know that's asking these questions. I'll make sure that we have services folks reach out to you directly to make sure that we get those questions answered in a timely fashion. So, but will there be training tools and videos for students in order to help them transition to this new layout?
We will actually have a new release video to introduce students to the new layout, without a doubt.
Okay.
We'll also be adding, we'll continue today in Study Island. We have for teachers the Walk Me feature. Hopefully you've seen that. That will continue as well for teachers. And now I'm stuck here. There we go. And up here we'll have the help. Well, actually this will become Help Center, but we will have more additional resources to help you prepare for these changes.
Mm-hmm. Is there a new view for teachers?
So one thing for teachers that's changing, the short answer is no. But for example, this is what the new teacher topic tree is going to look like. So again, still very similar to what it looks like today, but it has just the topics, the passing goal, which is a little different than what the students see, and then the standards map and this individual standards here for the teachers. And when a teacher clicks on the topic, you can see we still have group sessions. If there's any teacher resources, those will be listed here or linked here as well. And then my best score, because I know teachers like to go in and answer questions too and play games and things like that. So this is the only thing that's really changing for teachers is just the overall layout of the topic tree.
Perfect. Okay, so Let's see, and a request to go back to the desktop view. Now that is, I know, in the development site, so it's not finalized. So the menu on the left-hand side will remain the same for admins to set up classes.
Yes. That won't be changing. How classes are set up and everything like that is still the same.
Will the resources available be present from the topic tree? And are you looking at adding more resources for high school content?
So the resources that are today, if you are in a state that has the green apples, those are what you'll find here under the teacher resources. However, all resources in Study Island are available under the teacher toolkit to all teachers, and regardless of what your school owns. You have access to all math, language arts, social studies, and science resources that we have in Study Island through the teacher toolkit. As we revisit content, as you all know, we've got a lot of states changing the standards. I think we have like 15 or 16 this year. We do look at resources and updating resources at that time as well, whenever we're releasing new product.
Okay, so can you explain the NWEA Study Island integration?
If you are an NWEA MAP customer, you do MAP testing through NWEA, you have the ability to upload those scores into Study Island, and what it will do is it will create for your students an individualized path. So Sally is a third grade student, and based on my MAP scores, this is her path. Now, as the teacher, I have the ability to go in, and I think Sally's probably a bad example, but we'll use her anyway. I have the ability to go in and see where my student is. Where's Sally? And it's going to show me, again, based on their RIT scores from the MAP test, the student, she's at a third grade in number of operations, third grade in geometry. She basically tested at third grade. But if they were at different grade levels, you would be able to see that as well.
Are there any new reports with the releases this summer?
They're coming. We have this initial big release, and then we have some additional releases coming throughout the fall, and that's where some of the reporting changes will be.
Okay. Is Sensei the same?
Today it is, yes.
Okay. We're getting close to kind of the end of questions as they're on here. Just a couple of ones related to high school content and a follow-up question on that remediation, and we'll connect to services folks to talk about that one directly.
Okay.
Message from, this is Erin from Thomas County, Georgia. I'm assuming that you probably are familiar with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, we are so excited about these changes. Thank you.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear that.
So if there are any other questions, please enter them right now, and we'll continue to ask them or answer them. I'll switch over and kind of get to the end of our presentation here. Move us along a bit. All right. There's only a few things left that I want to make sure that we cover off on and get you information to. There's a couple of contests and activities that are being put together that I want to make sure that you're aware of and that you have access to. Right now I'm sending out a little message in the chat box, which will give you direct links into any of these contests. The first one, of course, is our Educator Appreciation Giveaway. We know how hard educators work, so we're giving away 2 iPad mini tablets to show our appreciation. You can enter to win them up to May 31st of this year. So visit that link that's in the chat. It'll also be sent out in a variety of other formats for you to be able to access. Then, of course, the middle one is our Educator of the Year contest. Right now we are taking nominations, and I'm sure all of you know an outstanding educator, someone who uses Study Island or any other of our Edmentum solutions. You can nominate them, and they can win a free trip to ISTE 2017 conference in San Antonio or a $100 gift card. That link is also in the chat box. And finally, don't let your Study Island subscription sit idle over the summer. Download this brochure for ways you can set up students up to practice their skills virtually using Study Island while you relax and enjoy your summer. So that brochure specifically kind of outlines ways in which you can get that set up. So those are 3 links. They're in the chat function box inside of your GoToWebinar program. Feel free and submit to all of them and download that brochure as well. Just checking back on the questions box, I think we have covered everything that's listed here. So at that point, I'm just going to let you all continue on in your day. Hugh and I will hang out here if any additional questions come in. And I do really appreciate your willingness to come on today and get a sneak peek. Expect that you'll hear more from Edmentum over the course of the summer related to this solution enhancement as well as others with inside the Edmentum portfolio. Thank you very much for your time.